paying close attention to the transition between Education 3.0 to Education 5.0 and how it has merged significantly with entrepreneurship in the economy. One of the students we have here with us to take a look at how it has impacted the youths is Tinashe Muzite, who is a student and entrepreneur. Tinashe, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Rufaro. It's a pleasure to be here.
I understand you are both a student and entrepreneur. Tell us a bit more about that.
I'm an entrepreneur majoring in the field of system designs and software development. I'm also a student at a local university studying economics second year.
What inspired you to blend economics and IT?
I saw it to venture in IT, as you know that key determinants of how successful business is measured on e-marketing.
With the mention of IT and how you've mentioned that it's a dynamic industry, it's a developing industry,
Yes.
how do you think that merges perfectly with Education 5.0 that focuses on innovation and industrialization?
As you know that as a country, we are trying to industrialize, we are trying to groom our industry to follow. So the only way or the only path which we have to follow is through innovation. And through innovation, you talk about technology. Technology about thinking new things, thinking about new, better ways of doing business. So with technology, it plays a crucial role in determining the future of our economy, as you know that new innovations are the drivers, the key drivers into economic growth.
Speaking of innovation, you are a young entrepreneur. You're both a student and an entrepreneur. Tell us more about your understanding of what entrepreneurship is all about.
Entrepreneurship is a process, from my own perspective, whereby you are taught how to generate an idea into a business, how to start that business, how to run that business, and how to expand that business. So it creates an ideology whereby you are taught how to identify possible solutions to existing problems in the market. So with these problems, you are able to set prospective goals towards achieving the possible solutions which you have identified, managed to identify in the market, and also set a vision for your project.
I understand that one of the key elements that you brought up in your entire response was to do with the youth being able to be equipped to then start their own projects, to turn an idea into a business. How do you feel that Education 5.0 has equipped you as a student and as part of the youth to be able to implement your ideas into actual business concepts?
With the coming in of Education 5.0, we're able to see that more has yet to be done on developing the skill in young individuals in different fields they're majoring, their studies, so as to come up with the real requirements needed to run businesses in the market. Yes.
The real requirements are the ones that are the most crucial in any business. What are some of the real requirements you've learned from the new educational system that have better equipped you to be able to run your own business?
With the coming in of Education 5.0, we've been taught how to be innovative in different areas or in different perspectives we are in, as it emphasizes on major departments like agriculture, like mining, like pharmaceuticals, so as to become self-efficient. So with innovation, that's the right way to go, it is the right way to industrialize.
With the introduction of this new concept of innovation and industrialization, what are some of the fears you still have as a young person embarking on a new idea and a new concept? What are some of the challenges you feel might prevent some people from becoming entrepreneurs?
The major stumbling blocks which entrepreneurs face nowadays, that they lack funding for their different or their various business projects they want to venture in, on the basis that they do not have the ideal platforms to showcase their business views, or they don't have the right skills to be able to run those business projects.
We were discussing matters that were concerning how lack of funding can be one of the key elements that prevent some of the youth from delving into the field of entrepreneurship and starting their own businesses. But a wise person once said, when you don't have all that you have, you use what you can and you do what you can do. So is it really just a matter of lacking funding? Aren't there other skills that people can utilize, especially the youth, with this innovation going around, that can help them to start their own businesses?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. But you know what? On the basis of different fields which you major in, specifically you may need equipment. For example, I'm in the field of IT, software technology. So I may need equipment which is not viable nowadays, maybe from our local markets. So I cannot afford to buy that equipment for my IT programming, but yes, I can start with what I have, but it's a longer process. Rather than being given a platform to showcase my project idea, they evaluate that project idea so that they may come up with possible ways whereby I can get possible funding in a much quicker way. So with this problem of lack of funding, we are just talking about the quickening of this process of funding projects so as to cater for that time which was lost by specializing in an education system whereby we are actually producing workers rather than job creators.
But Tinashe, here we're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about building something from the ground up, something that takes a long time. How can we quicken that process by waiting for appropriate funding when we can use what we have, like you mentioned, you're in the IT sector, correct?
Yes.
And so you need certain equipment. Don't you think if you were to bunch up with some of the peers that might have that equipment, it would better help you to project an idea to go to the next level?
You know what, Rufaro? From my own perspective, working under somebody, that's why we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about being your own boss. So working under somebody, you do not really express or showcase your ideas just because that person really thinks of another perspective of doing business, you understand? So I would not really encourage people or entrepreneurs to partner with other people already in business just because you are not going to have that platform to express your own views, or you'll be later disappointed just because they don't take your views. They have their own means of doing business. So with entrepreneurship, talk about being your own boss. That's the main basis of entrepreneurship, running your own business in your own way, you understand? So I think the only solution to this problem of funding is to create a platform whereby we have seen other financial institutions creating incubation hubs, you understand? So this, they saw that it was a major problem, it was a major stumbling block, just because everybody got an idea, a very brilliant idea, better expressed in their own means, in their own ways, but were they able to run that idea or run it into a business? No. Venturing on what? The problem of funding. So I think the efficient method or the faster way to keep this problem is through the coming up of platforms whereby they actually identify successful projects and they run with those successful projects. Yes.
Earlier on, we mentioned the fact that lack of funding is not the only reason why you can have a failed project.
Yes.
So now, diverting away from lack of funding being one of the main reasons that happen, that prevents people from starting up a business project, what do you think are some of the reasons why the youth end up not implementing their business ideas to become actual businesses that operate in a functionality in the economy?
The major blame is to put on the previous education system, the education system 3.0, whereby actually people were fed with information to be workers in the colonial industries, which was not the right idea, just because it didn't create that platform for what? For being innovators, for being people who run your own businesses, just because you're being fed into what? A pre-existing industry, understand? The education system was not producing people who actually produce goods and services. It was producing workers, people who were being fed with information to work for existing industries, as you can see. Yes.
So now we're looking at that transition. You mentioned education 3.0,
yes,
and the transition to education 5.0,
yes,
where previously there was focus on teaching, research, and community work.
yes.
And now focus is being placed on the innovation and industrialization we have been discussing prior to this.
Yes.
Now, how do you feel that, is there enough opportunity being created for the students, the youth, to take advantage of that new information, that new knowledge they're acquiring on how to be dynamic in order to apply to the economy and to add something sufficient to the economy?
With the education 3.0, as some people say, an education system is not an education system if it doesn't produce goods and services, it doesn't produce products and services, you understand? So you cannot say a person got the required education if you can't produce services or goods, if you can't provide those things, you understand? So with coming in of education 5.0, it has been, we have seen the government allocating at least 1% GDP towards the construction of innovation hub, like I said before. So this have been meant as platforms to showcase our project. You have seen the government fully funding other projects which has been handed over by the universities, different universities. We have seen the Middle State University running the usefulness of natural indigenous trees and herbs towards the development of pharmaceuticals drugs which plays a major crucial role, as you see that nowadays we have got drug shortages, not just because we import most of our drugs, but if we are able to make our own drugs, if we are able to fully fund our own local drugs, we are able to, to keep that problem of lack of availability of drugs. Yes.
But the question still remains, do you think that there's sufficient support towards students who are in the local academic institutions for them to properly implement their business ideas, their concepts, anything that they've then wanted to apply in the economy?
Yeah, I think there's sufficient support, but more needs to be done, like allocation of more GDP towards the supply of necessary equipment needed by us students in developing our own projects or our own business idea. As you can see, the government is nowadays is just strategically implementing a few business concepts which it sees are major breakthroughs, you understand. But there are many other business projects which have not yet been funded due to just this small amount of GDP being allocated towards innovation, you understand. So a lot needs to be done in terms of allocating more budget towards innovation, just because that's the major strategic drive of industrialization.
One thing I also took away from what you just said is that there's an important aspect of everyone being incorporated into this new dimension of innovation and industrialization, correct?
Yes.
So now we're looking at how we can delve deeper into that. Looking as an entrepreneur yourself, how were you exposed to these different channels where you could then sit down and say, I think I can start my project today?
Okay, as you can see, nowadays the employment rate is actually low. People are actually closing their industries just because they do not have the right ideology or they do not have the right information to run their businesses in their tomorrow's lives, you understand. So I thought it as an individual, I don't want to be an employee, I don't want to work for somebody. I actually want to generate my own idea, run my own business based on the information which I receive or the information which I acquired during my study of economics.
What do you think would be the driving factor for others? Because as you said, the important thing is to be exposed to information. What do you think can be done in the respect of exposing students to more information regarding how they can turn their business concepts into actual, physical, tangible businesses?
I think more is to be done by universities in the sense of exposing young individuals to more information or adequate information and also developing the skill, which is the most crucial. So when you learn something, you should be able to develop something. Even when you are exposed to a problem, you should be able to come up with an exact solution. So you just don't speak about coming up with solutions which are not going to be implemented into the market. So that area of skill development has to be measured. They have to focus more on skill development, you understand? That's the crucial step which has to be known by each and every individual towards achieving whatever they want to achieve in their businesses.
So speaking to the question of entrepreneurship, there's a common debate that usually goes on about entrepreneurs. Are they born or are they made?
Entrepreneurs are not born, but entrepreneurs are made just because you acquire information, you acquire the necessary skills, then you develop that skill to become a real project. So I cannot basically say or support the answer that entrepreneurs are actually born. No. Entrepreneurs are born. Anybody can be an entrepreneur, basing on the acquired knowledge and basing on the acquired skill to drive the certain business agenda you have. That's why I hear some people saying that people got different business plans, they got different business ideas, they got different things or different ways to do their own business. That's why we say being an entrepreneur means being your own boss, meaning that you're running your own idea, you're running your own business, you're running your own things in your own perspective, in your own way. So you cannot say that entrepreneurs are born. No, you cannot say that.
This was Tinashe Muzite, a young student and entrepreneur helping to discuss youth's involvement in Education 5.0, innovation, and industrialization. It was a pleasure having you along. From me, Rufaro Tafa, and the crew behind the scenes, pleasant viewing.